Step 1.
Start the tying thread at the hook eye. Pull down on the bobbin, snap the thread forward, and continue covering the hook shank with tying thread. Place your thumbnail at the rear of the thread, and using your thumbnail as a guide, wrap the thread up against the thumbnail and down on top of itself to form a small thread ball. Then carry the tying thread forward to about the midpoint of the hook.
Step 2.
I'm going to take 3 fibers from up near the tip section of a microfleck turkey flat feather.
Are you using exactly 3 for a reason?
I like to use 3. Mayflies live in clear water conditions, which are known to be selective. And when we tie this tail in about 1/2 of the shank length, you'll see it gives a distinct tail that's very natural, very reminiscent of the natural nymph. I'm going to force that tail material up against that thread ball, which splays the fibers. It's a technique borrowed from dry flies called a fantail. Trim away the excess. When we rotate the fly here, we'll see that we have a very distinct 3-pronged tail, much like the natural Callibaetis nymph.
Step 3.
I'm going to take some fine wire, silver, copper, or gold, and secure it along the near side of the hook.
Step 4.
Next, tie in a single strand of pearlescent crystal flash.
What feature of the insect does the crystal flash imitate?
It imitates the trapped air and gases many aquatic insects use to aid their ascent to the surface, common on caddis, mayflies, and chironomids.
Step 5.
Using the same material we did for the tail, we're going to take 6 fibers from a microfleck turkey feather, trim them from the stem, and we're going to tie these so they protrude forward out over the hook eye.
So it's the tips of the fibers that you're pointing forward,
Yeah.
is it?
We're going to tie them in by the butts, about 1/2 the shank length long, sticking out in front. Once we're happy with their position, we're going to bind them in place to where we envision the thorax to end, and then we're going to trim away the butts. This adds bulk and helps give that tapered shape to the nymph. Now, prior to tying the body material in, we're going to advance our thread backwards to the tail.
Step 6.
For the body, we're going to use some Ozark turkey quill fibers. Popular colors that I like to use include tan and various shades of olive and green.
I notice you're taking them from the middle of the feather.
Yeah, they're generally softer, and what we're also here looking for is enough material to actually form the body, which runs the entire length of the fly. The slip that you choose will be about 1/2 the gap of the hook. It's a good basis point. I'm going to carry that tying thread forward up to where the legs are tied in. Now we're just going to grasp the fibers and, taking care not to strike the hook point, wind those fibers forward in close touching turns, and you can start to overlap them slightly as you approach the thorax area to create an overall tapered shape that suggests the natural body shape of the Callibaetis nymphs. And don't go too far forward. We don't want to crowd the hook eye. We've got to tie in a wing case and complete the legs yet, so we don't want to get it too busy up there. We'll just trim away the excess.
Step 7.
Now we're going to take our single strand of pearlescent crystal flash and wind it over the body, ribbing it in the same direction as we did for the body material.
Why are you ribbing it in the same direction?
We want it to sort of disappear in there and be subtle. We want these little highlights not to be very overt.
Have you found that that makes a difference?
It adds a little attractive flash. Again, we're trying to make our fly stand out in the crowd.
Step 8.
Next, we're going to take our fine copper wire, and the purpose of this rib is strictly reinforcement. So we don't want to obscure the pearlescent crystal flash if we can help it. what we're trying to do here is reinforce two fragile materials, the turkey quill fibers that we used for the body and the crystal flash we used for the rib that suggests the emergence gases. Again, we tie that off, secure it in place, and break the wire.
Step 9.
I'm going to take some slip of mottled turkey quill, again from the center section where the fibers are softer. As you get towards the tip, they become very stiff and brittle. And we want to trim out a slip about half the gape. If you're struggling with the width, go with a narrow, slender approach. Usually easier to work with and actually looks better. We're going to take some flexible cement and coat the fiber with the cement to add some durability. Just use your thumb and forefinger to stroke the cement through the fibers.
Step 10.
For the wing case, we're going to tie this double back style, kind of unique look. We're going to position the fiber directly on top of the hook shank so there's an equal amount protruding fore and aft. And then fold the front section back over the rear section, and using firm, controlled wraps, bind the fibers in place. Not too tight, you don't want the wing case to flare unnaturally. Next, we're going to gather those two slips together and holding the scissors on about a 30-degree angle, trim the wing case to length.
Step 11.
With the wing case in place, we're going to divide the legs and tie 3 or 4 fibers down each side of the fly.
Are there 3 legs on each side of an insect like that?
Yeah, insects are known for their 3 body segments, 6 legs. And the mayflies carry their legs along the sides of their body when they dart through the water, and then they rest with their legs outstretched along the side.
Step 12.
We're just going to pull down on our thread, try to control the leg flare, and then just whip finish. And we'll trim away the excess thread. And there's the completed Turkey Quill Callibaetis. Perhaps have one errant leg we can trim off, but you can see the overall slim profile